How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Welcome to my first ever chatting session where we'll basically be going through the trades that I took, from like Wednesday. So, let's get into it, right? So, coming into the week, I was actually still bullish ever since I sent the setup on Telegram from the inverse. Hold on. Ever since I sent the setup from this inverse fair value gap here, so I've been bullish ever since, targeting these highs right here. So I've been bullish ever since, and I wanna see us take out these highs right here. So right now we only took out the first one, and then maybe on Monday I'm expecting to see us push higher for this one, and then we'll see from there if we're gonna come for these highs up here, you know. So let's get into there's actually two trades that I took. Uh, oh, this thing is slow though. Okay, so this week, there was this volume imbalance here. So you'll also actually be able to see how I trade when I get volume imbalances, when I get how I actually, the first thing that I actually look for when I get into the market, start at the daily time frame, find my fair value gaps or volume imbalance. If we do have a volume imbalance like we do here, I'm just gonna show you how I basically go about that. Also, I have my volume imbalance. We have our targeted a high right here. So what I do is you mark out your daily imbalance, and then you're gonna go down to the lower time frame. You're just gonna find your confirmation, right? Which is basically your sweep. You wanna see a sweep. You wanna see a market structure shift. You wanna see an inverse or your fair value gap, right? So if it's a fair value gap or volume imbalance from the 30-minute time frame, going the 30-minute, 1 hour, 4 hour daily, from those fair value gaps, I always find my confirmation on like the 5 minute or the 1 minute. I look for my SMT, I look for my market structure shift, I look for my inverse. But if it's a trade from the 15-minute, the 5 minute, I look for just an inverse. I don't need to find an SMT, right? As long as I have an inverse, I'm good. So since we tapped into that, we did have this impulsive move to the upside, taking out these highs here. So that was my sign that we have a high chance of reversing from that, right? And we do have our last break of structure. We do have our manipulation right here, where we swept this low right here, right? And then we have our market structure shift. We have our fair value gap right here. So those that was what I needed to basically know that we're going to push higher, right? And then for my entry, how I got my entry was, now you have your fair value gap, you have your manipulation. Now it trades back into your fair value gap. And I think I've said this before in these videos that most of the time, if it taps into your fair value gap during London session maybe, and then it trades back into that gap during New York session, it will mostly turtle soup the low it made the first time it went into that gap, just like it did right here. There was this low, it traded into this gap during London session. It consolidated because why? Time didn't align with price, right? It wasn't time for price to displace yet because the New York session hadn't came yet. So once it came in, it turtle swooped it, and then what happened? A reversal. You see that? So there was a gap that I got here during New York Open right here. So I entered from that gap, and then that's how we got the trade higher, right? And I was also targeting these highs that we had up here, right? So that was a very textbook setup. That's literally what I look for every single time. There's another one where, if I tell you about this one, so you guys know I'm still in school, right? So while I was at last period, right, I saw it was like somewhere here in this gap here. I took cells here, put my stop above here. I didn't realize that it hadn't swept this high yet. This was like a double top. So there's this high chance that we might start by sweeping that first before reversing. And I had my stop losses above here. It took me out. But it's cool, you know? So we did sweep here. We had a inverse right here. Your entry could have been here and you go down with it. But it's okay, we learn, right? So I saw it dropped all the way until it took out this low here, right? Which was gonna be the low I would have targeted, or maybe this one. But yeah, we did take out this low, and then we traded back into the range, which was my first sign that okay, we might actually change direction and be bullish, right? So we have our break, we have our sweep, we have our SMT right here. It traded back into the range. I dropped down to the lower time frame. Very simple. I drop down to the lower time frame. I look for an inverse. I don't have to find an SMT when it's like this. I just find my inverse when it's a sweep. I just find my inverse. I go down to the lower time frame, look for an inverse gap. Right here. I entered off of the inverse gap, but I just marked out this and my stops were below here. So I use this inverse gap right here. That's why if you look at the screenshot of my entries like somewhere here. Oh, and my stop loss was below here. And yeah, we did have our push. It did consolidate for like some time, but I did hold it through, you know, because I also saw this 5 minute gap, which it kept testing, but it failed to close below, which showed me that it's still strong and it might still push higher, you know. So I just put my stop losses break even as soon as I saw that, and then I left it, and it ran all the way to my TP. So right now, as you can see, we broke. We also took out that high, the previous high that I showed you, the first one. So obviously now, for us to continue even higher, we have to come back into the discount of this range, right? And I see we tapped into the 15-minute fair value gap right here. So what am I gonna look for? Drop down to the 1 minute, look for my inverse and my inch. Simple. Every single time. That's literally what I look for. Every single time. That's how I get my setups every single time. You see those screenshots on Instagram. This is how I get them. It's nothing complicated. Every single day, you just look for the same thing. Even with the 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 whole reason why we still buying even now, I use the same thing. So if you look at previous price here, we have this low here that we swept, and then we traded back into the range. We have that previous low, it was swept, we traded back into the range. I dropped down to the lower time frame. I looked for my inverse. Literally every single time. That's the model that I trade. Every single time. Right there. Look at that inverse right there. Traded back into the range. Even had an SMT right here. After sweeping that, we had an SMT. We had the trade higher, market structure shift right here, and then it came back. We have our inverse, and it pushed higher ever since then. So that's literally the model that I use every single day. So next week, I think we might still be bullish on Monday until we take out that high. Hence, you saw I marked out the 15-minute gap. So I'm just gonna keep an eye on that and just wait for the reaction from that gap. Wait for the reaction. Wait for my confirmation, and I'm taking the buys if it ticks all the boxes, and then we'll be targeting that high. So that's literally it. Like, if you can just backtest this on Nasdaq USDT, you will definitely get it. You can also trade it on gold, but when you use the inverse, gold mostly respects the order block. You can use the same model, but where you would put the inverse, you use the order block, just like it was on this trade here. Gold mostly respects the order block more. So, but yeah, it's the same thing. So I hope you guys got, uh, I hope you guys got valuable information here. And if you take this and backtest it often, you'll actually see that it's actually a good model, And if you wanna learn more about this, let me know in the comment section. Make sure you subscribe, join the family, As you can see, here's the inverse that formed. As soon as I see that trade above here, testing here, I'm taking this. Full margin, bro. I'm not gonna lie. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys on the next one, man.